Good day, friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today's sourdough recipe is a honey whole wheat with 45% whole wheat. I'm going to start off by adding 400 grams of water. And to that, I'm going to add 110 grams of sourdough starter at its peak. Once that's in there, I'm going to add 30 grams of honey. And this is a slow trickle. Once that's in there, then I'm going to start mixing it until it becomes a milky consistency. You'll want to be sure to mix in that honey well. It is a thicker consistency, so will take some additional effort. Once that is well incorporated, I'm going to start adding the flour blend. I always use a flour blend because I find that really enhances the flavor of the sourdough. And of course, this one is a honey whole wheat. So I'll start off with 250 grams of whole wheat flour, and I am using Azure Standard Ultra Unifying bread flour. And then I'm going to use 150 grams of Trailblazer flour. Then 150 grams of Bob's Red Mill Artisan flour. I'm now going to add 14 grams of salt. I add a couple more grams of salt when I'm using whole wheat. Once that's in there, I'm going to start mixing it with my wooden spatula just until the dough comes together. I am now going to switch to my bowl scraper to bring the dough together further and to also clean up the sides of the bowl. Once I've brought the dough together, then it's going to be time to get my hands into the dough. And this is the best way for me to determine if any more water is needed. So I'm going to wet my hand and bring the dough together just to a shaggy consistency. And that's what it's looking like. Now I'm going to place it in a warm oven for 1 hour. This is round 1 of stretch and folds. This is what the dough is looking like. I'm going to do a full set of stretch and folds. The dough is now well hydrated, and this is where you're starting to build the initial gluten structure. I'm going to turn the dough on itself a few times and place it back in a warm oven for 30 minutes. This is round 2 of stretch and folds, and that's what the dough is looking like. It's looking much smoother. It's elastic. I'm going to do a full set of stretch and folds and then turn the dough on itself a few times and put it back in a warm oven for 30 minutes. This is round 3 of stretch and folds, and that's what the dough is looking like. It's looking smooth. Fermentation has started. I'm going to do a full set of stretch and folds, and then I'm going to do a window pane test. And you can't see very well, but there is some breakage at the top, so I'm going to need to do another round of stretch and folds. So back into a warm oven for another 30 minutes. This is round 4 of stretch and folds. This is what the dough is looking like. Fermentation is going well. I'm going to do a full set of stretch and folds, and then I'm going to do a window pane test. This time it passes, so I'm calling it good, and I'm going to place it back in the warm oven for approximately 3 hours for bulk fermentation. This is what the dough is looking like after bulk fermentation. It looks great. I have great fermentation bubbles on the surface of the dough. I'm going to turn the dough out onto the counter. And then I'm going to start shaping it. I'm going to do a letter fold, and then I'm going to roll it. and I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to use the bench scraper to bring it together into a bowl. Then I'll let it rest for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I'm going to do final shaping. So I'm going to add some rice flour to the surface of the dough, flip it over. I'm going to do another letter fold, and then I'm going to roll it. And then I'm going to use the bench scraper to close the bottom seam. And you'll see the ends there. I made a mistake, and you'll see it later. I should have closed the ends of the dough, or sealed the ends of the dough. So I flip it into the banneton and I let it rest for 20 minutes. I then come back and I'm going to close that seam. And this helps to build further tension on the surface of the dough as well. I'm now going to add some rice flour to the surface of the dough and cover it, and then place it in the refrigerator for 12 hours. This is the next day and it's time to bake the sourdough. The dough looks great. It has continued to rise in the banneton. I'm going to flip it out onto a piece of parchment paper and then score it. And I'm going to do a simple score, 2 wheat stalks on one side and then a deeper score on the other side to create an ear. And you'll see when I make that deeper score on the other side, my mistake. I should have sealed the ends of the dough. There is some cracking. Once I'm done scoring it, I'm going to place it in the oven. The oven has been preheated with a Dutch oven to 450 degrees, and I'm going to bake it for 40 minutes. 30 minutes with the lid on and 10 minutes with the lid off. And this is what the sourdough looks like. It's not my best looking sourdough, but that doesn't mean it doesn't look great on the inside, and you'll see that next. Now let's see what that crumb looks like in the honey whole wheat sourdough. It's less than perfect on the outside, but it's beautiful on the inside. Happy sourdough making!